Earlier, but I feel compelled to challenge the rhetoric of Councillor MacIver over the last couple of weeks. He made inflammatory comments targeting the people in this chamber that cannot go unanswered. On Sunday, during a protest which he led to the very doors of this council building, he gave a speech where he characterised the people in this chamber as pigs, with our snouts in the trough, driven by self-interest. This is a new low. There are councillors in this chamber from across the political spectrum who have dedicated their lives to public service, and it's a privilege for me to count myself among you. Working in counter-terrorism for many years, I've taken on the Islamists, the far right and the far left. My record, and that of a good many other councillors in this chamber, speaks for itself. I will take no lessons from him on public service. I was at the protest on Sunday. I think he missed that, because he made it all about him and his agenda. I spoke to concerned residents, people who have lived in this town for decades. It's clear that 3 tribes have attended these protests. The first are local people, rightly concerned by the presence of undocumented, unvetted illegal immigrants in our community, and now we have serious criminal offences being committed. People who are no longer willing to pick up the pieces of our broken immigration system. I feel the anger of our residents. As a father with young children growing up in this area, I'm angry too. The second are well-financed and coordinated far-left agitators. And the third are their opponents on the far right, both of whom came here spawning for a fight and to hijack legitimate protests by local people. They are not welcome in our town. Let's be clear, this is a national crisis playing out on the small stage of Epping. So what have we done? Conservative councillors have worked closely with other groups in this chamber. Problem solving over placards. Where he has talked the talk, we have walked the walk, putting in the hard yards to support the people of Epping. Despite the obstinance of Home Office officials, local councillors and officers have worked tirelessly over the last few weeks to resolve this crisis. I particularly want to thank Councillor Chris Whitbread for his leadership throughout. He has been clear in calling for the hotel to be closed. He has my support 100%. To this end, he launched a petition calling for a debate in the House of Commons. We have pressed the Home Office for visibility of the risk assessment and the community impact assessment associated with the use of the hotel. I'd like to thank MPs Neil Hudson and Alex Burghardt for their work to raise this issue with the Home Secretary. I thought the response that this government is committed to closing all hotels by the end of this Parliament stands in stark contrast to the fact that the use of asylum hotels has increased by more than 20% since this Labour government were elected. This government's relationship with the truth is fleeting at best. I'd also like to thank Essex Police and all those other constabularies drafted in on mutual aid for all they do to keep us safe and to safeguard our democratic right to protest. I spoke to officers on Sunday and I was struck by their professionalism in the face of a barrage of misinformation on all sides. Being a police officer today is like being the England football team manager. No one wants to do the job, but everyone is an expert on how it should be done. I believe we should now give serious consideration to applying for an injunction to prevent the use of the Bell Hotel for accommodating illegal migrants. And I'd ask the leader, when he sums up, given the Home Office's unwillingness to engage with us, should we now explore legal redress through the courts? Thank you.
Councillor MacIver, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and may I thank you for chairing such an emotive meeting with your usual class. And I'd like to thank all members for their participation. I would like to thank Councillor McCann for raising that point. It gives me an opportunity to clarify, which I've had a number of conversations with members about this evening. I was referring to politicians that cancel elections and then give themselves a pay rise within the same few months. That was what my speech was about. Very happy to speak to any member about that, and of course most have my numbers. You can speak to me about it in person, over the phone. It doesn't necessarily need to come to this chamber, because what that does is distract from the very serious nature of this motion, which is about people and their lives. It is about young girls and women and their lives. here in Epping. And I do think it is a real shame that more members from this chamber couldn't be there in person to speak to those residents, as Councillor McCann has. I must admit I didn't see him there, but I'm grateful to him for being there, as I'm sure the residents were. Councillor Yerrell, similar reception, and Councillor Owen this evening, a similar reception. The people of Epping are worried. They're scared. And what they want in that scenario is to know they're being listened to. And I have proudly stood with the people of this community, including many people who have travelled from Ongar and the villages where I represent. I've proudly stood next to them shoulder to shoulder and listened to them. I can't solve this problem. The truth is, in this chamber, none of us can. This is years and years and years of mismanagement of our country's borders, which has resulted in the need for hotels to be used to accommodate unvetted men that have entered the country illegally. And if the Bell Hotel closes, which I very much hope it does, I'm afraid it will only be another community that has to pay the price. This is about women's safety, and the people out there this evening, the people that have been on the streets of Epping, they are local people that are worried. Now, violence against police officers is unacceptable, obviously, and it pains me that I'd even need to say that in this chamber for clarity. Violence against anybody is unacceptable. Assaulting anybody is unacceptable. Damaging public property is unacceptable. Putting local businesses at such risk that they feel the need to close because they're worried. But misinformation can come from both sides. But one thing I would like to point out to this chamber, and I will support the motion, there was just one detail, bullet point 2. I believe it was the arrest and charge of another individual for us, and I think it would be important to clarify that. But I'll wait to the end of my speech for the clarity. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah. Can you just wait, Councillor McIver?
Yeah, I think members need to be aware there is an ongoing police investigation, and it would not be appropriate to discuss the detail of that in this chamber, not least because it could prejudice the case as it goes through the process. So I really think it's not appropriate to refer to that.
I appreciate that. It's written in the motion, and the bullet point 1 mentions arrest and charging. Bullet point 2 just says arrest. I believe the individual was charged as well. That was just my point.
But no detail. Yeah.
Just a minor detail. But more to the point that I wanted to conclude on, I will support this motion. I support the closure of both these hotels, one in which falls in my county division. I do not support the idea that all of those people, local mums, local children, local dads, are somehow far-right thugs because they share a different political idea to others. But I will call out the far-left thuggery that was escorted to the Bell Hotel, which caused, I was there and I watched it, which caused unnecessarily provocation. And that is not misinformation. I was there.
Right, Councillor McIver,
I was there, and the Chief Constable's conference confirmed this.
So you're going to have to
So I will
speaking.
wrap up then, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank the police officers that have travelled from across the country to be here, particularly Staffordshire Police and Bedfordshire Police, who have excelled. I'd like to thank Essex Police for the pressures that they are under. And Madam Chairman, I will finally say this. The people of Epping deserve strong political leadership, and I urge members of this council to speak to the people out there after this meeting.
That's your 5 minutes done.
Thank you.
Councillor Pond, please. Councillor Pond? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I intend to speak very briefly to say that we in Loughton very much regret the disturbance to the peace of our friends and colleagues in Epping that has happened over the last couple of weeks. We all know that the UK has had to cope with an influx of asylum seekers. The choice of Epping as a centre for their accommodation was, in my view, a spectacularly bad one. I don't particularly criticise the poor executive officer somewhere in the Home Office who I guess was told we need accommodation for 500 more at the end of next week. But I do criticise the political direction at the Home Office. Truly, the Bell is a terrible choice for this sort of thing. It is a terrible choice because it is next to one huge secondary school and less than 100 yards away from another smaller one. It's an awful choice. And it's on the very edge of Epping town, in an historic building, and it's in the Epping Forest district with its unstable politics within living memory. And all that's happened here has simply inflamed what we thought we had quelled years ago. We in the LRA group, I think, can be proud of having supplanted the then standard bearers of fascism 15 years ago. And it is absurd to see the Bell situation raising that sort of spectre again, and the police being taunted while they try to keep the peace for us all on our behalf. Like everyone else, I thank them for what they have done, both the Essex Police and supporting forces. I think the motion may be overcomplicated and a bit verbose, but I will of course support it to show that Epping Forest is united in saying this site for the Bell Hotel and its use is wrong. It's plain wrong. But members, among ourselves, I don't suppose that Yvette Cooper is listening to this in listening mode, but really the proposers and seconders of the motion have got it exactly right in that this facility needs prompt closure. Thank you.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't intend to speak this evening. I wholeheartedly support this motion, but I wanted to call out Councillor McIver, who seems to sidestep what he says outside in this chamber. It's not directed at this chamber. He said on social media that unless you're sitting in hospital unable to walk, where are you? Well, I'm in the fourth week of 6 weeks of chemotherapy. I wasn't out there and I didn't intend to be out there, but I really do take exception to your comments. Really do.
Councillor Rackham, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair. I support the motion in front of us this evening. I'm just going to say a few words. Firstly, I want to thank Councillor Yerrell for his very moving words earlier this evening. Thank you, Councillor Yerrell. When we speak about issues like immigration and asylum, we have to remember that the government and the council can only do what the law allows. And sometimes what people want isn't possible within the law. So this council does not have the power to stop the owners of the Bell contracting with the Home Office to use the accommodation for a purpose that is actually lawful under their planning consent. And it's worth reminding the people here and outside that the Bell ceased to be used to house asylum seekers in April 2024, and that was under the Conservative government. It's only reopened because the Labour government has utterly failed to smash the gangs, and there's been a huge increase in illegal channel crossings since they came to power. I know that the leadership of the council and our MPs have lobbied the government about this, but it's a decision that rests with the government. We also have to be conscious of the very strong feelings people have about these things on both sides of the argument. We represent everybody in the wards we were elected to serve. And whilst we may take a personal view on issues like this, we should not take sides in a matter which the council has no jurisdiction over. All our councillors need to stand together on this issue and not accuse others of refusing to support local residents. There is no one here that has their snouts in the trough.
We have no more names of members that wish to speak. Councillor Janet Whitehouse, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I did actually put my hand up at the very beginning, so obviously I got missed. I'm speaking as an Epping Councilor and as the Mayor of Epping. It's very sad that the picture of Epping that's being seen nationally and internationally is one of disturbance and violence. This is not the usual Epping. Epping's an attractive market town with an interesting history and beautiful surroundings. But the most important element of any place is its people. And the people of Epping are community-minded, compassionate and caring. This can be seen in the number of local organisations run by volunteers, the support given to the food bank and the kindnesses shown in so many ways. Last Sunday was one of the demonstration evenings, but during the day, the annual Classic Car Show had taken place, organised by Rotary in one of our main recreation grounds. And that was enjoyed by many people, both from within Epping and coming from outside. And 2 weeks previously, we'd had the Epping Town Show, similarly enjoyed by people from outside Epping and within. We don't want the people who are coming from outside now who are coming just to cause disturbance. I agree that the Bell Hotel needs to be closed, but we don't know the circumstances of the individuals who have been placed there. Sadly, there are many places in the world where there's conflict and people have to flee. There are also people who want to come to this country to work, and their contribution is valuable. But we do need safe and legal routes for both groups to come here. It seems that some local people are staying away from Epping because of concerns about their safety. That obviously is a sensible thing to do if there's going to be a demonstration. But I would like to say to them, do come back, support the high street shops and the market, and let's keep everyday life in Epping continuing as normal. Thank you.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chairman. I only want to say a couple of words, as I always understood that an asylum seeker took refuge at the first safe place that it came to. But this doesn't seem to be what is happening. These people are not asylum seekers, they are economic migrants, and I'm sure that the law must be able to treat them a different way. And I fully agree with the motion that we've put forward, because it is not a suitable place. And as a mother and a grandmother, I'm quite concerned for, as I have teenage grandchildren, that the whole country, in fact, doesn't seem to be a very safe place.
Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is such an important motion, and it carries so much emotion, and I fully agree with all of its parts. It's to safeguard and protect our kids, but to set an example to the rest of the country. And at the end of the day, it's a motion for common sense safety. Now, standing here tonight, I feel 2 things very clearly. First, I feel very proud of our community for standing strong through what has been a difficult and upsetting time. I'm proud of the hundreds of mums, dads, grandparents, neighbours who are here tonight, and thank you for coming, who protested peacefully at the Bell Hotel. You didn't come with hate, you came with concern about what happened in our community, and you came to be heard. And I hope that we are listening to you right now. And I'm proud that despite everything, this council is still meeting, we're still getting on with the job. But I also stand here with concern and with anger. Because while many local people came in peace, others came to stir up trouble. People with no connection to the area arrived to push their own agendas. Police officers have been injured, property has been damaged. This isn't protest, this is thuggery. I'm also disappointed, Councillor McIver, who I'm still proud to call a friend, that you have used this serious motion for self-promotion and photo ops to build your own personal brand, and it is a good brand, for political purposes. And not only that, but you go on to put words in our mouth and accuse us of saying that all of the protesters were far right. What utter bollocks. Now, our words carry weight, and yours have crossed the line, I'm afraid. Referring to councillors as having their snouts in the trough isn't just hollow and vacuous, it poisons debate and deliberately seeks to divide. And I'm sad that you've just doubled down on this claim. British politicians have been murdered when us versus them language has gone unchecked, and we need to keep it at bay. Tonight we're discussing two problems. The first is what happened, which we have been asked to refrain from speaking about at this juncture, and how that has taken our community near to the brink. The second bigger problem is how this Labour government has treated Epping Forest. They didn't consult us, they dumped people into unsuitable hotels without checks, without support, and without a plan, and now we're dealing with the consequences of their, word of the day, contempt for us. The Bell Hotel must close, not because we wish to tar its entire population with the brush of the offences that are alleged, but because it houses an all-male group with no transparency about where they come from, what their attitudes towards women and girls are, just minutes from a school. It's indefensible and grossly irresponsible. And we must recognise that not everyone in these hotels is a threat. The Phoenix Hotel houses women and children, many quietly just trying to get on and rebuild their lives. It wasn't the children starting the fires, it wasn't the widowed mothers committing the assaults, and we need to just put that on record. But that doesn't mean the Phoenix Hotel should stay open either. Sitting on a notoriously fast road, it's the wrong place for vulnerable families, and especially after the fire earlier this year, it's no longer safe. The government needs to provide a proper plan, not to leave them in a half-burnt-down hotel with no certainty. And that's why I believe this motion strikes the right balance and puts community safety first. Epping Forest is not this government's dumping ground. If this government thinks we're going to stay silent while they use us as a testing ground, they're wrong. They hold our community in contempt. They hold our concerns in contempt. They hold this council and all of the people that we represent in contempt. And we demand immediate action to make our districts safe again for our children and for our communities. And that is why I urge everyone to support this motion tonight. Thank you.
Can I just check there's no other members that wish to speak on the motion? Councillor Morris. Yeah. Can you please stand?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah. So I just wanted to say a few words. I'm probably not the world's most eloquent speaker, and I think there are people in the chamber who've said things much better than me. But I do share everybody's concern and the deep concern that everybody's expressed today about the events of the last few weeks. But what I'm going to talk about really is just what I hope, rather than any more detail about what's happened. So, I can see commonality here. I know we've had expressions of doubt about this, but government policy is to eliminate the use of hotels for asylum seekers. They're not going to do it immediately, but it is their aim. And I think this does coincide with the EFDC's absolutely legitimate desire to close down the hotels in the area, particularly considering what's happened over the past few weeks. And I'm just going to express the hope that with sufficient pressure and common ground, that discussions between EFDC and the Home Office can take place, and that they can lead to a safe, secure, lawful and speedy resolution of this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Could you turn your microphone off? Thank you. So, Councillor Chris Whitbread, would you like to address the council now?
Chairman, point of order, if I may.
Which rule is that?
A point of order. I was earlier, the legal officer said I misinformation.
Which rule are you talking about?
Monitoring officer may be able to clarify. I just wanted to confirm I would never mislead the chamber. Could you just explain the misinformation for the benefit of members and the members of the public? Thank you.
Who wants you to explain what misinformation means to the public? Are you prepared to do that? Is that necessary? I don't think that's necessary, really. No.
I would have thought the definition of that is quite obvious. It's something which isn't correct.
We don't need to. So thank you. Chris Whitbread, can you speak, please?
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, there are many times I've been here in debates and you feel, yes, it's the two sides divide and you've got the debate going. But isn't it nice that in these really difficult times for my hometown and our district, that we're able to come together with common cause. And Councillor Morris just used a word a few moments ago, common ground. But that's the ground where I like to live, the common ground where we can work together. And we've got a big piece of work to be done now to put our community back together again, but also to address the problems that we face. When Shane spoke earlier on during the debate, it really got us back to what this is about and the damage that's been done to our community and the fact that we have to act to make sure that government does eventually, as quickly as possible, listen to us. And I think listening to the debate this evening, it's reminded me that we need to redouble our efforts and we never give in to the government's neglect of Epping Forest. Indeed, I would say across Essex, the government often forgets about us on a whole range of issues. And I've seen the best of us tonight here, from Councillor Janet Whitehouse talking about the needs of the town and making sure that we encourage people to come here, to the passion showed by Holly, by the passion showed by Tom and others across the chamber, and the unity with Loughton that Councillor Pond showed to us, and of course the wise words of Eureka and others as we went across, Councillor Rackham. So that gives me real hope this evening that together we can lobby, push, cajole, make things happen and do our best to get the government to move from its current position. The one thing I will tell you this evening is that we will do everything from a council perspective that is within our diplomatic and legal grasp that we can do. I don't know this evening how far we can push this, but we will be pushing it. And we will do everything we can to achieve the objective of the whole of this council, the whole of the community that I grew up on, and we will be working tirelessly to get the government to listen and close the bell, and in the future, close the Phoenix. This has to be done, but I think at the same time, we have to accept there are people living in those facilities, and they are vulnerable too. Because of what's happened, because of the awful events that have happened, we've got to bring our community back together again. If we didn't see another protest like we had last week, encouraged, poked up by people who are on the extremes of the life, we really now need peaceful demonstrations to help us achieve the objective. Violence will not help us achieve our objective. Government will close its ears. So together we can be stronger, and that's why I support this motion this evening.
Councillor Holly Whitbread, do you have anything you wish to add?
Nothing further to add, thank you, Chairman.
So, councillors, we will now have a vote on the motion. So we'll ask you to raise your hand to indicate your choice. So Mr. Woodall will count the hands. So all those, please, in favour of the motion, please raise your hands.
Unanimous, Chairman.
Unanimous. So that means the motion has been agreed. So, to the members of the public who have attended the meeting this evening, I'd like to thank you for being so respectful. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to pause the meeting for a few moments to allow you to leave the meeting if you so wish. You're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but for security reasons, you will have to stay until the meeting has concluded if you choose to stay at this point. Thank you. So we'll just pause for a moment whilst those people who want to leave. Could those that are not seated and standing, could you sit down, please? Thank you. I don't think I need to. I think we're okay. So we're on to item 6 now, Chairman's announcements. So, councillors, it's with much sadness that I must inform you that Wyn Marshall, the chairman of our tenants and leaseholders panel, passed away last week. Wyn was a council tenant and dedicated many years to resident involvement activities at Epping Forest District Council. Wyn believed that tenants and leaseholders from all parts of the district, no matter their circumstances, should have a voice to share their views on housing-related matters. Wyn was part of our tenant and leaseholder panel for at least the last 10 years, latterly as the chair of the panel. As part of this role, he was the vice chair of the Association of Retained Council Housing tenant group, and as such represented tenants on the Arch Executive Board. His knowledge about council housing at Epping Forest District Council will be much missed, as will his passion for high-quality services for local tenants and leaseholders. He also sat as a co-opted member on the Communities Scrutiny Committee, where he was able to reflect the views of tenants and leaseholders about policies and processes that were going through our decision-making process. In his time as one of our most engaged residents, Wyn led the panel and the wider tenant voice on key policies that were being developed by Epping Forest District Council, including significant health and safety policies and the housing strategy. His enthusiasm for social housing and his willingness to get involved are examples for us to follow in building such strong relationships between Epping Forest District Council and our tenants and leaseholders. Wyn will be sadly missed by his family and friends. So will you please join me in standing for a minute's silence in his honour. Thank you. Please be seated. I know there